All right, and we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the Social Kick Podcast. I'm Brian Lundquist, joined by a full crew today: Luke Paddington, Justin Wynn, Dr. John Mullen, and today we're graced by the presence of Olympic gold medalist and bronze medalist individually, NCAA champion, swimmer of many, many laps, Leah Smith. Thank you so much for being on the show, and welcome. It's good to hang out with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yay!
So Leah, we wanted to start off today's conversation by playing a little game called "What's Up with This?" So, what's up with this?
So that was Golden Goggles 2015, and usually at Golden Goggles we have like a rehearsal the morning of, and they kind of tell you who you're going to be walking out with, like who's your partner. So you basically, like, there's two parts of the stage and you meet and then you walk out. And I was with Kendall Stewart for that. And we were like, I mean, some people got really creative, like created a handshake to do like as you meet and then walk out.
Yeah.
And we were just like, why don't we just, like, I don't know, put our hands on our hips and walk
strike
out.
a pose.
Yeah.
What do you call
music?
it?
What'd you say?
Was there music? Was there walk-on music? If so, what's the song?
Yeah. Well, I don't remember what it was to that.
What should it be?
I don't know. Probably like something by, like, I don't know, like Tyga or something.
Oh my goodness.
Do you ever hear walkout music at meets? Like, is there
anymore? Honestly, it was like more of like a thing when I was younger, which was so exciting when you got to pick your song, like when you did first. And now I feel like they don't do that. Like, everybody has like a planned schedule for what the music's gonna be.
I used to love swimming the 50 because you could walk the whole length of the pool to do it.
Well, actually, now I feel like I don't know how much I pay attention to walkout music, but when I'm not in a distance heat myself, I've noticed that they play like during the race music when it's like the 800, because they're just like, okay, here you go.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to that, but first I'm going to say, what are you drinking tonight, Leah?
I am drinking some ginger turmeric tea.
Awesome.
Very excited about it, but it's way too hot right now to drink, so I'll get back to that.
So that's hot right now. Yeah. So ginger and turmeric are very in. I drink a lot of kombucha sometimes on this show, and those are some of my favorite flavors, along with lemon. Things that
I was actually my drink was gonna be a lavender ginger kombucha that's in the fridge. Ooh. But it has some caffeine in it, and I'm trying to go to bed decently early. So
yeah, it's like hibernation period right now. John, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking another scotch, so not on the anti-inflammation like Leah and you guys with the kombucha. So cheers, everyone.
Justin, what are you drinking?
Well, Brian, I pulled a you, actually. I'm drinking kombucha tonight. It's from Hum. It's a blueberry mint kombucha. It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that one's not bad. I think they have pretty good packaging, too. It's different than some other brands.
Yeah.
I got an anti-long day at work drink. It's called beer. It's like hazy IPA again. It's a good one. It's a citrus one, but it's pretty strong. But it's after a long day. This is my anti-day.
Yeah. That looks like packaging that was made in a home garage.
Yeah, it's a little brewery.
Yeah. So I'm drinking a Deschutes fresh haze IPA.
Oh, that's good.
Nice.
Oh,
yeah. It's not bad. It's the first time. So some of the fruity IPAs are they're okay. I really love the Brew Free or Die, the grapefruit one. That one's a good one. But anyway, so I want to come back to what the hell were we talking about? I forgot.
Playing music during the 800 when you swam.
Yeah, man, come on, we got to get into the music.
Okay, so well, so what I want to know is, like, I've often thought about what would it be like to have swimming as a festival, right? Because in track and field, when you go to track meet, there's everything going on.
Yeah.
And so if you have, like, you always got all these people like clapping for the pole vault while they're doing the 5K, And it's like, well, I wonder if it'd be cool to have swimming as like one big festival where you've got distance swimming in the water and you've got diving in the diving well, and then behind the crowd you've got water polo game or something like World Aquatics.
Artistic swimming.
Yeah, they don't do it all in the same thing. It's like, why do they do that in track, but they don't do it in swimming?
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. I kind of feel that way a little bit at Worlds when we get to like, because Worlds is all the water sports, but they're all different venues, and like it's hard to feel like you're connected with everyone. But it is fun to kind of watch all the different sports.
Well, so did you guys have so in Virginia? What was the relationship like with swimmers and divers?
Oh, it was amazing. I talked to some people who are like, oh, like we aren't close with our divers, and I'm like, what? Ours were amazing. Like they're so fun. We didn't always practice at the same time as them, but we definitely made sure to like at meets and like different stuff, like a lot of us lived with them, and so they were a super fun group of people, and yeah, we just had a lot of fun with them.
So
yeah, divers have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I swam in Canada.
Big time.
I swam in Canada, and we'd always come down to the States to swim Grand Prix meets or swim against some of the Ivy League schools up in the Northeast. And I was always shocked by the fact that in the middle of a swim meet, there was a break and people started jumping off a platform and diving. Like, what's going on? I'm not a diver. It's like going to a hockey game and figure skating starts in the middle of the hockey game. Like, what?
Yeah, that's so true. I guess, like, I mean, I have heard people say, like,
yeah,
I don't understand why the sports are combined. Like,
why is it?
And while I do think that like divers should get their own, like they shouldn't have to like, you know, adhere to like the scholarships and whatnot. Like they are an important enough sport of their own that I feel like they should have more than that. I thought it was so fun to be combined with them, but at UVA we don't have a platform and we don't have a diving well, and so the diving meet always had to be like an hour before the swim meet. So we actually did get to watch it. We were never like warming down or anything during it. So we would go to our meets like an hour early and then watch the divers.
Raise hands if you got asked at a summer league pool to do a dive, because I heard you're a really, really good swimmer. So let's do a dive. Anybody asked you to do a dive off the 2 meter? Oh, not 2 meter.
2 meter? What are you talking about?
I'm kind of afraid of heights. Like we had a circuit that we did 2 years ago on New Year's Eve.
Yeah. And
usually on New Year's Eve when we practice, like, my coaches try to make it super fun. And it's kind of like a celebration. And so our practice was a 10-minute swim as fast as you can. That was like station 1.
That's fun.
And so it was racing. So like you had groups of 4. And then the next thing was like a 2-mile run. And then the next thing was stadiums. Anyway, it ended with, in order to cross the finish line, you had to go off the platform, the 10 meter.
Yeah.
And I just straight up said no. I was like, I can't do that. And they were like, fine, you can go off the 3 meter. And I was like, I can't do that either.
When you jump off a 10 meter, you don't enter the water streamline. You're meant to enter it like this. Nobody told me that. So you do this, and what happens?
Well, so we had this tradition at Auburn where when the women went away to NCAAs, the men were there and we would just all goof off in the last week of taper. And so it was a rite of passage. If you got on the NCAA team, you did a naked 10 meter jump.
Yeah. Suits on head. Record suits on head.
I'm telling you, some of like the fastest swimmers I've been around would stand up there like they were like so scared to jump off of a 10 meter. And everybody's got this like, oh no, like I'm naked. When I hit the water, it's gonna, I don't know, but
man, I'll never forget
could not have done that.
And I was on a recruiting trip to Tennessee, and we got on the 10 meter on that trip, and I'll never forget being scared out of my mind and seeing another recruit, Gil Stovall, do a gainer off the 10 meter on a recruiting trip. It's like a reverse flip, and while I'm like sitting there, I like took one step off, and I was like, "Who is this guy?"
Dude, I think Gil Stovall did that on all of his trips.
Probably. That was insane.
That was his move.
As far as diving, we need to keep diving. Purdue diving and swimming appreciates all the diving points.
That's why you guys score.
Yeah. Wait, so Leah, were you saying that you think that if diving, so divers still count as half of half of a person officially.
I know.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, so I was on a team that totally benefited from that because we had good diving, and so there was like a year where we got 4 divers in and only counted as 2, and so we could still bring 16 swimmers. We qualified in full flood. So it's like, well, sweet, but not everybody's like that. Do you think that that's fair?
I don't know. I don't know enough about diving to know what's fair and what's not, but I felt like more of what I feel like they should have a set amount of scholarships that is available to them. And like I would just feel bad if they aren't like as valued as much. Yeah, that's true. They get less and there's less spots, and like it's not always guaranteed that divers will always like make the roster. Because you know, a lot of swim coaches might know a good bit about diving, but a lot might not also. So I think that's tough.
Does anybody know how does that work at Miami? Miami has men's diving, but they don't have, and like I think Hawaii does too. I don't know if Hawaii has men's swimming, but I remember Miami men's diving.
Yeah, I know. Because I would swim against them. Well, I would swim JCCs. They're really good.
Yeah, they're great, and I don't know how many scholarships they have because they don't have swimming. So,
yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know. Yeah. So anyway. Enough about all of that. So
enough about diving.
Let's move on to.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's see. There's a number of things that we wanted to get into today, and I said at least a place we could start is what's going on right now. Like it's quarantine, COVID. Where are you? What's training like? What are you up to?
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot. Well, actually I can show you my, well, where's the camera going? Sorry, this is like opposite. Oh, okay. That's my Peloton bike.
Nice.
And I've just kind of been going ham on that. Because I really like the workouts and I think it's like good, like mimics really good cardio. Yesterday I went on a run. So I'm just kind of trying to do stuff that like kind of excites me where I can like make goals, but that's not too much. So I'm not like getting burnt out doing other stuff. Like I think the first week I was like, I'm going to like, by the end of this, I'm going to run like a half marathon or something. And then I think I just like chilled on that. I was like, I don't need to pile things on. Like this is a stressful enough time already.
Leah,
Sorry, we were talking to Amy Bilquist and we were asking her about Peloton bikes, and she's got she doesn't have the actual Peloton bike, which I have no judgment on, but are you giving her any hell about having the real thing?
No, because I actually like told my mom to do that because she was like gonna buy the bike, and I was like, well, you could just buy like a $300 bike and do the app. And I have a lot of friends that do the app that'll just go on random stationary bikes. So no, I wouldn't judge someone for that.
So Amy and Leah, what's a good aerobic workout like for you in a Peloton, or what's like a run for you? Because I asked because we had Kat Breed on a couple of weeks ago. I started following her on Strava. I see what she does every day. We had Chad Latourette last week. I started following him on Strava. And I was feeling really good about myself on Strava with my runs and bikes, and I see what these guys are doing. I'm like, oh, okay. What's like for you, somebody who is like, yeah, a mile all out is fine for me swimming? What do you do?
So the first week that I was doing the bike workouts, I was kind of sticking to like 30-minute classes because that was like a really good time frame for me, and super hard. Like you can get a lot of good work in. Yeah. And then I had a group message going on with Mallory Comerford, Natalie Hines, Madison Cox, and Ashley Twitchell. Mm-hmm. And we all have Pelotons and follow each other. So when we do a class, if you're at the same time, they show up on the leaderboard, which is really fun. So we started coordinating who was going to do what rides at what time. And we started out, me and Mallory and Natalie did like a 30-minute, immediately got a best output. I barely even looked at the leaderboard until the end, but we did pretty well. And then after that, we kind of started like bumping it up. Like when it was 5 girls, we did a 45-minute ride. And that was tough. And then eventually I was like, okay, I need to work up the courage to do a 90-minute ride because I just feel like if they swim like the 100,
distance swimmers prevail.
So
Hey.
I did, so I planned on doing a 90-minute ride every Monday. And I started this 3 weeks ago. So this Monday was supposed to be my third 90-minute ride. But on Monday, I decided that I wanted to see if my 90-minute was translating back to my shorter rides. So I did a 45-minute to see if I could beat my best output, to see if the longer ride was working. And I got a best output, so I think it is working. So then I think this Monday I'll go back to the 90-minute ride. But that was really, really tough.
Leah, I got a question for John, actually, because I started riding recently the last couple of weeks, and my running has really improved tremendously. And I seriously, I think it's because I'm actually working my glutes and my hamstrings a lot more, and I can't wait to get shoes. And my running feels great, and no injuries, what have you. How's this going to help Leah's swimming? I mean, how's it going to help? It's translated to underwater, so body position, and especially her events that she swims in such a range. What do you think, John? Just overall, besides the hard good work.
Yeah, I think as far as biking and that goes, obviously getting some cardiovascular work and just some metabolic waste burn is going to be good for her. So when she gets back in the water, it's just not, starting from nothing there. As far as the cycling component, the best thing I think from it is the low impact and I think a pretty low risk of injury. Because I think the silliest thing I'm hearing from a lot of elite athletes right now, kind of like what you said, I'm going to go run a marathon, I'm going to go do this, and they're going to hurt themselves during this time. I was talking with a few other well-known strength coaches, and they were just talking about we're just trying to bring everyone back in, keep people focused, stay healthy, get through this, and then go from there.
Yeah, swimmers aren't land animals.
Sorry.
Swimmers aren't land animals.
No.
You go.
Me, you.
I've had like tendonitis in my knee for like 10 years. And I ran in college a ton. And I was pretty injury free for like 2 years of that. But it just keeps coming back. And if I kind of go over like 3 miles, it'll come back. So that's why I do love the bike, because it is pretty low impact. And I feel like my legs not being strong has been one of like the weaker parts of my swimming. And so I'm excited to see if they do anything after this.
Do you think it's going to stay as part of your training regimen?
I think so. Yeah. So I've strayed away from biking in the past, cycling in the past, because I have a neck injury. And so, leaning over the handlebars, kind of like in that position, even if I have a neutral neck, can aggravate things sometimes. So I kind of, after I got my Peloton bike a few years ago, I kind of strayed on the safer side and just I didn't renew my membership. But now that I'm on a really good path with physical therapy and everything, and I feel a lot healthier, I'm having no problems, which is great. So, in the past, it wasn't a huge part of my training, but it would be cool to work that in the next year.
And are you doing any type of strength training right now? Or you said you're working with a PT, are you doing telehealth and those things, or what else is going on?
My physical therapist, also, they own a gym too. So it's like kind of like a whole program. It's half strength, half PT. Smart people. Super smart people. And honestly, like that idea like sounds so simple when you say it, but like not a lot of people do that at all. So they have strength coaches and they write my lifts, and then my PTs communicate with those coaches, and they all have meetings about like what I might need to work on or what I shouldn't do that week. And so it's all just one big communication circle, which I love. And so they're writing me at-home workouts based on what I told them the equipment that I have. So at the beginning of quarantine, like I said, I have 2 kettlebells, I have like this, I have bands. And so they've been writing it based on that. But I do miss pumping some iron.
Leah, what are you good at? What are you strong at? What are you weak at? Like, what do you like? Yeah, wow, they're impressed that I can do this, and I'm really suck at.
I'm pretty good at deadlifts. I would say that's like my best, but I'm not very good at squats. For me, like I'm not super tall, but I feel like that like plays into it a little bit. Yeah. And I just don't have like the explosiveness on squats. Like if I get down there and it's really hard, like I will get back up, but it's just going to look not athletic. Like I'm just like really slowly rising. And I see some people in the gym that are just like bouncing up and down on squats, and that's just not me.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was just gonna follow up on the strength because I think it's interesting to hear kind of what you're doing. And it sounds like some strength and power stuff. But when you think of a distance swimmer, especially in like age group swimming, you think of circuit training, 1,000,000 reps. You got to get more cardio. What are your thoughts on strength training for distance swimmers?
Yeah, honestly, I've heard like so many different things from so many different people. There's people that are so good at distance swimming that don't even do a lick of lifting or dry land, and that works for them. That's fine. For me, like I still do swim the 200 and 400, and so I feel like I need that power, and I do feel like it translates to my other races. But then again, like that really is what works for me. And I feel like that's what's great about like the strength and PT people that I work with is that I can really specialize my program. That's kind of what's great about being a pro too.
Yeah.
You can give that input and feedback and work on that. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's important, and I think it's important just for swimmers to be more than just swimmers. Just have like a whole body connectedness. So yeah, but I know that that's not what works for some people. Some people are just head down grinding.
Old school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, so your relationship with a PT and strength coach that's individual, is that, are there other pros that are doing that sort of thing, or is that tailored to you, and how'd you find your way toward that?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of pros that do that. I think, well, for me, like I don't swim with the college team that I went to. So I think that was an element of like lifting with a strength coach that's like I swam for my coaches that I'm currently swimming for. And so I already knew them. But then like lifting for a coach that's not really like employed to and the strength coach at U of A is awesome. And I did lift there for a while. But when I hurt my neck, I saw a doctor in Tucson who kind of like we were discussing what I needed to do. And he was like, I had talked about how my previous physical therapy I didn't think was working out. I didn't think it was helping me that much. And it was one of those like physical therapy clinics that's just like pumping people out. Like there's like 30 people in there at one time, and like you're like doing random. I just kind of was like, I don't know if this is for me. And so my doctor said that he knew these people that were really good physical therapists. And so your appointments with them are just you and your PT. Like it's not like you go in and they're like, oh, warm up, and then this like intern will take care of you. So I really liked that, like kind of like specializing in like individual attention. And then I actually wasn't doing strength with them at first. I was just doing physical therapy a few times a week. And then after like a year or so, they were like, we think it would be awesome if you like started to lift with us, if that's something that you wanted to do. And they knew I was lifting on my own. I was doing different workouts just like kind of by myself. And so they were like, you can come here and do them, or you can come here and do them and we'll write them. And so that just worked out, and they kind of thought that was great because then they could program in. There was a lot of overlap between what I was already doing. Like for PT, I would have to do rows, and then my lift would have rows in it. And I was sort of like, do I do both? Or like, so yeah, it all just came together.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about this because I know that you've spent some time at altitude at the Olympic Training Center, and to do that, you know, you're coordinating, I assume, some things on your own, and you're training with different groups and different coaches. So how does, like, as a pro, that's the kind of world that you navigate. You're not always swimming at the same meets that the college team's swimming at. And so your coaches may be over there while you have to be in a heavy week of training. So like, how do you manage that sort of thing? How do you deal with, like, training trips and stuff like that,
Yeah.
especially if you're kind of on your own but doing your plan?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I think that's like was a big part of like me growing up and leaving college, and just something that you do kind of have to experience and learn yourself, like kind of trial and error, and like just learning to be in tune with what you need. So I in 2018, our pool was being renovated at U of A from end of March until January.
Wow.
And so we weren't going to get any long course like at the U of A pool. It was all short course meters.
Mm-hmm.
But my coaches, like, they did their best, and they tried to get there aren't many long course pools in Tucson. They tried to get us this long course pool 2 times a week. And I felt like for me, I needed more long course than that. And so that's when I reached out to Bob Bowman, because I knew that he was running a camp at that time at OTC. And so, it's like kind of just about like making those connections and like, just being really communicative, like with my coaches too. Like I didn't just be like, I'm leaving. It's kind of like, hey, I think I need more long course, and there's a camp right now that I think I would be really good for me to go to. I've kind of just like done different stuff like that every year. Like during conference NCAA time, the national team always hosts a camp at usually it was at Chula Vista. This year it was at OTC in Colorado. And I've gone to that. This was my 3rd year going to that. And so that was important for me to just like go somewhere where you're with like kind of like like-minded people, in that they're not also preparing for NCAAs. They're not tapering, like they're pros as well. So that was really important for me. I'm really glad I did that the first year I was a pro. And I did it this year, but we had to evacuate. So.
Well, so when you do that, so you've got a training plan. And of course, as a pro, your training plan's got to be adaptable. You have more autonomy in it. You can give feedback. The dialogue is good. There's some swimmers, though, that fully buy in and they're hands off. Like, I'm doing this thing. It sounds like, if you're going to be participating with other coaches and integrating into their workouts, that you've got to be fairly adaptable. Do you feel that way, and that you can kind of are you taking Bob's workout and going, okay, but what if we do this and this is what I need? Or are you saying, here's my workout, coach me, Bob?
I feel pretty rude doing that. Because I'm sort of like, if I asked you if I could swim with you, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like, I'm going to do your workout. And if I don't want to do that, then I shouldn't have asked,
Right.
So for me, like, I have swum under a bunch of different coaches for like different periods of time. And I feel like that started when I first made my first national team trip in 2014. I was put in Bruce Gemmel's group.
Mm-hmm.
And so on national team trips, they have groups, and you have just a coach that you were designated that you're supposed to go to for like everything. And they write your practices, or your coach sends them practices. So I kind of just joined Bruce's group. I was a rookie. I was like not trying to tell anyone what I needed to do. And my coaches like communicated with Bruce, and they were like, yeah, that looks great. So that was kind of when I first got experience with just like being thrown into something that might be a little different than your training, but you're going to do it. And then, after that, every year I basically just like swam for a different coach on each trip. Like the next year I did a mixture of like Bruce, Frank, my coach Corey. The year after that, Corey was on the staff. I had Augie on my WUGS team one year. 2018, I swam for Irby on that trip and kind of just floated. I swam in Jack Bowerly's group. Like this past year at Worlds, I just like joined a different group every day based on what like I felt I needed. I do feel like I've developed that kind of like adaptability.
So the people that I swam with who had that kind of professionalism in their craft, I mean, to know what they needed on a daily basis, were either like you, at the at the very top of the sport, winning individual Olympic medals, or had a career in coaching. Do you have any interest in coaching?
I've thought about that. I don't know. Like sometimes I think so. I've been watching the Michael Jordan documentary.
Same. Yeah.
Everyone is, right?
Yeah.
Well, there is.
Steve Kerr, the Warriors coach. I thought about how cool it was that he played and was like so good, and then now he's the only one of them that's like coaching and doing so well. And I thought that that's so cool, and like what a great way to stay in touch with the sport. So I have been thinking about it lately, but I also there's so many other things that I think I could or would want to do. I don't know. It would be, I don't know. I guess I would have to like have one of those, like I really missed the sport and wanted to get back into it. So yeah.
Leah, you're swam with a lot of people over the years. And Steve Kerr I'm a Warriors fan, big time. I love him. I love that that he stood up to Michael and he got punched in the face from Michael, right? Who's the Steve Kerr of a teammate you had? It's like a small little guy, but don't underestimate this person. This person's going to push you back. I don't care.
Oh, my sister. Yeah.
Your sister?
Yeah.
Oh, sick. I like that.
I'm with my sister like my whole life. She's 3 years older than me. And I was just such a little brat when I was swimming with her. Like when she was kind of like getting recruited, like taking swimming super seriously, I was just like a dumb 12-year-old. And so I remember like I started to get really good, and like beat her, and she was just not having that because I would like do dumb stuff in practice. So she was the first person to like, I wouldn't say stand up to me because like she's my older sister, but kind of just like tell me what not to do and kind of like get in my face. And I definitely needed that. But I don't know if I had any college teammates like that. I felt like we were all really good in my college distance group at like pushing and challenging each other to a good degree.
There's no Michael Jordan crazy, like you need to work as hard as I did and work harder. And I set the example. Like who's the hardest badass that you had in training?
My team.
Besides you, I'm sure. You look pretty badass.
Yeah, you can say you. You can claim yourself.
I mean, I did like crush a good amount of practices in college.
I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but beep.
No, like I'm kind of saying it in the sense that like sometimes I think back to some workouts I did in college, and I'm like, I could not do that now, which is okay. Well, it's not okay, but I'm still getting faster, so that's fine. But I'm sort of just like, what was I on? But I had a really good distance group of guys that was super fun to train with. And they were like not afraid to challenge me to beat them, even though they were guys, which I thought was super special. And, I feel like guys sometimes can fall deeper down into a hole of like getting broken down. And so I was able to like, ride their tails on that and kind of push them too. So, yeah.
Oh man, I had a point in pretty much every season, especially, so I swam pro for 5 years, and most of those years every one of those years for sure, I got so broken down that I got to one point where I specifically remember David Mars telling me in 2012, hey, it's on like a Friday morning after practice. He goes, I don't want you to come to practice this afternoon. I don't want you to come to practice tomorrow morning. All I want you to do is go eat for 3 days. Eat pizza, eat burgers. I'll see you on Monday.
That's really funny.
I was just like, all right, we've reached a new level. That's it. David knows I can't make the interval or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes that's like kind of the best and simultaneously the worst, because you're like, yes, I can't handle literally anything else. But also now I'm extremely defeated, and I'm impressed that I can't do the practice that you laid out for me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So era against era. Could you take in your prime at UVA, you and Paige head to head, Are you beating her? Are you slaying her in workouts? Are you the one touching the wall by 2/10 in front of her every time?
Madden.
Yeah.
Well, I never swam with her at
I know.
UVA.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't know, because I've never done a practice with her. I did one with her at I went back to UVA last year, before the Richmond Pro Series. But I just loosened up at the same time as her. So that wasn't really like, we did do a little set, but she had just come off a 2-week break. So I don't know. I'm sure she does throw down some awesome stuff in practice, and that would be fun to get to practice with her. But I live in Arizona, so.
You just said something that's interesting. You said, I don't know, I haven't done a practice of her, because I think I know what you mean. Like, there's some swimmers who maybe their best time is better than you, but in a workout, you're not going to let them beat you. You're going to like take them down no matter what, even though they're better than you. Like, on that day, you're going to take, are you like that? You're like, let me do a set of you.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting. There's so many people that, are just like not good trainers, and there's so many people that are way better trainers than they are swimmers. It's just like the most interesting thing. You like really don't know what someone's going to be like sometimes until they go to a meet. Like, some people it astounds me how broken down they get, and they can just whip things out. But yeah, I think that is a really interesting dynamic. There's definitely those people that are just like, training is their bread and butter, and they're not going to let you beat them, even though you are. And there were a lot of girls like that on UVA that I felt like really challenged me. I had this one teammate, Jen Markand, and she was really fast. She got 4th at NCAAs in the 2 fly. But she was just like the tiniest little girl, but like had the most like fiery work ethic. And she was just never going to let you, like, if you were going to beat her, it was not going to come easy. And so training with people like that was super special.
I want to go, there are 2 big conversations I wanted to have with all of us. One was the whole male-female progression of world records and breaking barriers, etc., and how that's been going. I'm going to go there in a second. But I want to kind of talk about, like racing and training with legendary swimmers and being around them. And how has that inspired you? Because I didn't get to do that. I mean, my legendary swimmer when I swam was like a Popov, right? And in a distance it was Perkins, but I wasn't at that level at all. Brian, you had, legendary swimmer for you. You didn't have the Caleb. You came after, Popov. We're talking about the Spitz of the world, the Phelps of the world. How has that inspired you to just keep pushing yourselves? And it comes to my question too about, is your one goal now to be a world record holder, and how does that push you to be, you've achieved at the highest level of swimming, you got a gold medal. Is it an individual goal? Is it a world record? How does being with a legendary swimmer, in our sport for the Ledecky has pushed you and kept you going and drove you further? Or would you have done that anyway, you think, because you're just a badass?
Yeah. So I do feel like I get that question a lot about like kind of like who's your role model, and like kind of how does Katie tie into that too. And I feel like it's interesting because I'm 2 years older than her. And so I didn't grow up watching her swim. Like, I grew up watching Kate Ziegler and Katie Hoff. And so those are and like Natalie Coughlin. So those are my big idols and the girls that I wanted to be like. And then kind of like, as I started making my first national team, Katie was doing so awesome. And so I feel like she definitely has redefined a lot of people's goals and like shown people kind of what's possible. And so I definitely feel like that has like added another level to my goals. But for me, my goals are usually pretty, I don't know, like specialized to myself. Like, I don't know if a lot of my goals center around like the color of the medal, or like for me, a lot of things are time based, because that's like super easy to track and like progress and shoot for. And also something that I can like daily keep in touch with. Like, I definitely do have the medal goals, but I don't necessarily have like a goal sheet that says like, I want to be a world record holder, but I do feel like I train with that sort of like passion, if that makes sense.
Well, let's go there then. I don't want to talk about times and your best times and all that kind of stuff. I just want to talk about what's that driving to you? I mean, you are the 5th fastest 400 freestyler in history. That's freaking crazy. You know, Janet held the world record for in 1988 for, I don't know, 12 years or 18 years when she said it, and that was my inspiration when I was watching Janet swim at 17 years old. She ran 4:03. She negative split at 400. That's ridiculous, and she was 17. And then in 2006 it got broken. What drives you forward? Like what's your your dream? It's like, is it how you to swim a good race? Is it to knock off a 154 200 free, break 430 400 IM?
Yeah, so I do remember in 2009 I watched the World Championships and I watched Federica.
Yeah, break 4 minutes.
Yeah. That for me was like,
I'll
never forget that. That was like a defining moment for me. That was when I made the same goal to do that as well. I had no idea if my trajectory would even trend in that direction, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I'm still trying to do that.
You will.
It's been like 4 years of trying to break 4 minutes. But yeah, so that definitely drives me. But also just like, I don't know. I feel like every year that I swim, I find new challenges for myself. And that's kind of what like keeps it like addicting for me. And even if my best events aren't like, I'm not always getting best times in them, like I'll add something else in. So like in 2018, I had never swum a 200 fly. And I went from like 216 to 214 to 211 to 210, all in like a 4-month span.
That's great.
It was just like so addicting to me to like have that 12-year-old feeling again of like dropping time. But yeah, I would just say like, I spent like 3 years in college trying to break 430 in the 500 free. And I was able to do that in my literal last 500 free ever. So like moments like that are kind of like what just like keep me going. And I am very time-based, but I also like just love the feeling of like a really awesome sense of accomplishment. And that, for me, getting best times checks off that box for sure.
I was like that very much when I swam, but then all of a sudden when I started coaching, I got inspired by seeing other people do best time and other people do really, really well. And I know you have very close friends in swimming. You have your sister who swam, and that's what got me into coaching for so long. What kind of races have like, wow, made you feel really, really good deep inside to see somebody, was it Maya winning gold? Was it, like what's some of the races that you've had, damn, that felt really good to see. And I welled up more almost than me winning.
Yeah. So in Rio, there were 2 races that stood out to me. The first one was the 100 breast.
Yeah.
Because Lily won. And so that was so cool. And we were all flipping out. But then Katie Miley got bronze.
Yeah.
And so that was so cool. And we were flipping out doubly. So it was sort of just like amazing that Lily won. And then like you saw Katie touch and you're like, oh my gosh, we thought this couldn't get any better.
It's nice.
And so that was so awesome. And then, yeah, Maya's 200 back, definitely. The day before,
looking at face,
I said to her, like, because there's always just kind of the funny dynamic of like, what celebration are people going to do when they win? And then there's the dynamic of like, is it cool to sit on the lane rope? Is it cocky? Like, what's that about? And I think there's a tasteful way to do it for sure. Like I've seen Federica do it. And I always thought, like, I remember one time she did it and like made a big heart. And I thought that was like so cute. And then sometimes you see it and people are just being so extra. So like, I don't know. I feel like I've talked about that with people. Like, would you sit on the lane rope? Like, is that cool? Like, would you ever, or like, what would you have to do to sit on the lane rope after? And so I said to Maya, like, if you win gold in the 200 back tomorrow, will you sit on the lane rope? And she was like, sure. And so at that point, it was kind of like Katinka, like everybody thought had it in the bag. And like,
yeah,
I'm sure Maya had like really awesome goals, but I think like it was just sort of like, yeah, if I win, I'll sit on the lane rope. And then she won and she didn't sit on the lane rope. And we talked about it after and she was like, I don't know, it just like everything happened so fast. And by the time I remembered, it was too late. And Yeah. So I don't even, honestly, if I broke a world record, I still don't think I'd sit on the lane rope. I'd still have the same reaction that I do when I have a good race, which is like, oh my gosh, yeah.
What if you swam like a 208, 200 fly and you came 7th at nationals and you're like so thrilled you sat in the lane rope?
Actually, that would be the
Right.
scenario. I would slap the water. Actually, in Des Moines, so this season, even though it got cut short, I was thinking that the 200 IM was going to be my little baby that I kind of nurtured. And I went like a 2:14 at nationals, which was like, okay, that was like my time that I went last year. And then in Des Moines, I went 2:13 in the morning, and I was so pumped. I was like, if I said to the whole heat, if I go at 2:12 tonight, I am slapping the water.
Awesome.
And I went at 2:13. I was so sad. But yeah, so it's kind of like for me, like it would have to be an event that I'm like it's a super good time for me, but probably not impressive in the grand scheme of things.
No, but I love seeing that in swimming. I love seeing the person in lane 2 who set a national record for their country, and they're so pumped. Oh, who like you go to nationals and you see somebody qualify for Olympic Games, right?
Yeah, I love those moments.
Isn't that lovely? Isn't that why we love the sport?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I've long said that I don't appreciate a quiet champion. So a lot of people like Federer, and I just don't like Roger Federer because he doesn't celebrate for anything. You know, he's just like
just stoic.
Okay, and I love the fact that there's personality, and you know, so it rubs some people the wrong way, and cool if that's you, but I love it. I love when somebody's fired up. That's actually what I really like the most about college swimming, I think. But you see this internationally too. That's the thing that gets teams most fired up. The gold medals do, sure, especially if they're a surprise. But it's the bronze medalist who sneaks in for the team medals or the team points that it's like they just got a connection with their team, and your team's going nuts in the stands, and it's like that riles everybody up. So
I did hear something about like at the Olympics, it's like the gold medalist is obviously happy because they won gold. The silver, and I don't know how much I agree with this dynamic, but the silver is like maybe disappointed that they didn't get the gold, and then the bronze is just like happy to be a part of it. And I definitely was happy to be a part of it in 2016. But I don't know that all silver medalists are like, wow, I didn't win the gold. Like I know that there's a lot that are like, that's still incredible. So yeah, I think that's funny.
I got a question for the group here. So I want us all to give Leah a celebration she's going to do next year in Tokyo when she crushes 4 minutes in that 400. She's going to get out of the water. It's not in lane rope. Is she going to do that? Is she going to jump? John, what's the celebration she should do? That's unique. We haven't seen before.
Do you love me? Are you riding? There we go. Come on.
All right, Brian, talk.
Going back to the harbor.
Actually, no, I don't know if I've seen anyone win an Olympic medal and like dab. But that's so cringe. I don't know if I could do that.
Left foot up, right foot slide.
I think we should go back to your
bow. Just bow.
Yeah.
I think we should go back to your golden goggles intro dance.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, also like another dynamic too is like my races, like I'm not saying other people don't like get out of breath, but sometimes after an 800 free, I simply do not have the energy to like be doing the most.
Well, this just throw up, just like vomit or something because you're so exhausted. I don't know how you survive 800. Sorry.
Yeah, the 800 I feel like is like I don't know. I feel like I'm getting a lot better at it, and now I actually like enjoy it a lot. Versus in the past, like growing up, I didn't really want to swim it.
Is that your favorite event now, you think? Like how to swim it, how you feel during it? I mean, what's the one that you really look forward to swimming in every meet?
I definitely look forward to swimming the 200 just because of how short it is. And like that excites me, just like is a challenge to just see how I can get my speed up.
Yeah.
400, I would say like, I just like, I can do that in my sleep. Like, it's just like such a, I don't want to say easy race to me because it's really difficult, but I have done it so many times that it's like sleepwalking. But the 800 I feel like is something that I found a groove in. So that's exciting to me. to finally get to that point that I'm kind of at in my 400 free, where like I can play with different strategies and like, I don't know, just the race like really feels good. But yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean you found your groove in the 800? Is that you just know how you feel at the 2, at the 4, and you know your split sets, and maybe we can take it to the mile too. But talk about the 8s. What do you mean by you found your groove?
I feel like I'm very in tune with like the speed that I'm going and how I'm feeling and like different strategies that I can employ.
Yeah.
And in the 400, I could honestly like play around with it. Like in the morning, I could be like, I'm going to descend the last 300s, and I could actually do that and know that I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can kind of just like the event is just, it's not easy, but I just have a lot of experience in it. For the 800 for me, I would say like I was really good at it in high school. At Junior Pan Pacs, I went like 8:28. And then the next year I like had a really bad year and I added like 10 seconds. And then the year after that, I thought like I was in college and I was like, oh, I'm going to get back to the 8:28. Like I'm definitely going to be under that because like I'm so much faster in all my other events than I was in high school. So naturally that one. And I was like 8:31 and I was like, what the heck? And I just couldn't get into a good groove in it. Like nothing about the event felt natural to me. Like I knew I was like going pretty fast, but I didn't feel like I had no idea what I was going. Like I didn't feel like I could have any strategy. Like I couldn't be like, oh, today I'm going to negative split it. Like it was just kind of like I dove in and like I wasn't in tune. So then I feel like the next 3 years of college, I like really had to work on that event. And eventually like I started to bring it back down. And that was like really good to get in that groove. And now I feel like the past 3 years, I have kind of made it to the point where it feels more like the 400 in that I know the speed I'm going. I like, I'm not like flipping out during it. So yeah.
At what point in the 800 do you have no gas in the tank and it's all just your heart?
I'm laughing because in 2018, I had no gas in the tank at like the 250. Part of that was I definitely did take it out a bit too fast, but I also had heat exhaustion. That was the year that
that's right.
It was in Irvine.
Yeah.
And I have never in my life experienced a pain like that. I've experienced complete muscle failure at the end of a race, and this was nothing like that. Like my whole body felt like someone had lit a match inside of it. Like everything was on fire. That was so awful. But typically run out of gas. If I'm having a good race, I shouldn't be.
Really? Like you can finish like Conor Yeager did in that mile. You can just like nail and crazy kick last 50 and be like, solid and touch the wall.
I'm not one of those people that's like gonna take my 800 out and then my last 100 is gonna be like 3 seconds faster than my first 100. Like I'm not like that.
Right.
But once I get to like, I would say the 550, like no matter what pain I'm in, I'm bringing it home. Like that's enough time for me where I'm like, yeah, this hurts a lot, but I'm fine. So if you start to feel the pain before the 400, you're just toast.
How good at you? We had a couple of elite professional swimmers in the past talk about how swimming is a bit crazy because we all are crazy to block out that pain and just to put it behind us and keep going, and we feel the pain. Okay, that's when it's time to work. Talk about that, especially in your events. What strategy do you use? Do you close your eyes? Do you go somewhere else? Do you start, I don't know, do you go into a deep dark place? Do you go in a happy place? What do you do to deal with all that pain that happens at the 550?
Yeah, I think there's just like a lot of self-talk that goes on where you do feel like the negative thoughts creep in and you're like about to give into the pain because it's overwhelming. And so I feel like that's sort of the mental training you need to work on and practice.
Yeah.
Just like staying super mentally tough. And then in a race, you can kind of like talk yourself out of it. So that if you do kind of have the wrong strategy where you took it out too fast, it's not always like gonna end the race for you. So for me, that's like super important. But yeah, I would say I just like, if I catch myself being like, oh my gosh, like I like, if I feel this way at the 250, like, what am I going to feel like at the, like, 600, you know, like, I kind of have to be like, no, like, I've trained for this. So I feel like it's definitely like a dialogue in your head sometimes. And it's okay to have that, maybe not in like a 50 free, because that's way too quick to have thoughts. Like,
we're all 50 freestylers, all three of us. So.
If you're at like the 10 and you're like, oh, I don't know if, like, you just need to go. The 800, you have enough time to, like, I feel like, kind of have that conversation with yourself.
Well, you mentioned the 400 and 800. I want to get into the mile, with obviously the mile being an event now, finally an event for the women at the Olympics. How does your strategy go for the mile? How confident are you feeling in that? And what mental strategies do you need for that?
Yeah, so for me, the mile is interesting because I grew up with it not being an Olympic event. So I don't think I ever swam the 1500 in high school. Maybe one, like, I've only swum it 5 times in my life, 5 or 6. And so growing up in high school, like, I had zero dreams of doing that in the Olympics because it was not like a thing that I was like, if I can't swim that in the Olympics, I'm not going to waste my time in that event. And that was, a lot of that was because I think I went to junior nationals one year and I watched my friend just like light up the mile. Like, she did amazing and everybody was so impressed. And I think she won. And the junior pan pack team was being decided. And she didn't make it because that wasn't an Olympic event. You can only make it in Olympic events. And I was like, honestly, she had like the swim of the meet. Like, I thought this was the best one.
Yeah.
So after that, I hadn't gotten into the mile before that. And I was like, well, I'm not getting into it now. Like, I'll just stick to the 400 and 800. And then as I got into and I genuinely like just enjoyed the 400 and 800 more, I think. Then I got into college and I was like, well, I'm going to have to do, and I was pretty good at the mile short course. I was like, I'm going to have to do this for college because I'm not good at the 100 free. And I have a pretty good mile time. The mile short course, I also hadn't done a lot in high school. And then I got really good at the short course mile and I was like, okay, I think I can do that long course. And so, yeah, I mean, I haven't done it too much because like 20, yeah, I mean, because it hasn't been an event.
Yeah.
And so only like the odd years has it been. I made it in 2017, but I made 5 events that year. And there was only, there was going to be an overlap of the 2 free and the mile. And I didn't think I could handle that. So then I didn't swim it. And then in 2019, I didn't make it at 2018 Pan Packs, even though I swam it. So yeah, I feel like I've just kind of had like a rocky road in that event, partly because of not having it being offered and like not growing up with it. And then also because I kind of need to get that groove that I was talking about in the 800. But yeah, I think like I definitely train enough for it. And like, I am excited to make more goals in that event. And it's definitely, I just can't believe that it's 2020 and this was going to be the first time. Like, that's so mind blowing to think about.
That's why I want to follow up with you about how you felt about that. I mean, how do you feel when they finally announced that they got their dumbasses together? Excuse my language. They got their dumbasses together and they realized that it's equal events for both genders throughout. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it reminds me of that photo where the woman's trying to run the Boston Marathon.
Yep.
And like a guy is like grabbing her. Like,
he was the organizer. He was the race organizer. That guy.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know. It was, when that came out, I was sort of like, first of all, I don't know why this is like an announcement. Like, no one's like proud. Like, this isn't like, oh my gosh, good job. Like, that was really good. It's like, what were we doing?
Finally.
Yeah. And I definitely had spoken out about it before too. Like, people had interviewers asking, like, do you think the mile? And I'm like, yes. Like, what? Why would it be at Worlds and not the Olympics? And just the history of why it's not. is awful too. So
So one of my best events is a 50 butterfly, and I was the fastest 50 butterflyer in the U.S. in 2009. And my best time would have gotten from that summer would have gotten 4th at Worlds. I was a second faster than either of the Americans who swam at Worlds that summer, and they picked them from the 100 butterfly, and or other events because Griever swam it too.
Before they did the 50s at nationals.
It was before they did it at nationals, but I stand here today saying, okay, so I didn't get to go to that big Worlds, even though theoretically my time would have put me there, but I still wholeheartedly believe that the women's 1500 is first before putting any of the 50s of stroke in the Olympics. It's just like, come on, that's obvious. So I'm really happy to see it. I think it's sort of like, okay, finally, but you know, I don't know. It's good to see. I'm excited to watch it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Luke.
No, I was gonna say maybe we switch gears to a photograph that Justin might have. He wants to bring up. You want to switch gears to that, guys?
Yeah.
Leah, we like to surprise people, so excuse us for a second. And this person looks just like you. Looks just like you.
Yeah. My great grandpa.
And
well, actually, the 100th anniversary of his World Series win was this past October, which is insane.
John, what team do you support in baseball?
Go Reds.
Who did he win? Who's the world champion?
He did play for the Reds, but this his World Series win was with it was with the Reds. Yeah,
it was the Reds. Yeah.
That was the Black Sox scandal, I believe.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So, talk to me about your family history in terms of like not just we can read Wikipedia. We know what's going on with your uncles and your dad and all that stuff. But what was Christmas lunch like with your family? Like, how competitive was it? Like, you got so many athletes. You got one person who can knock you out. You got one person who can leap over the dining room table. You got one person who can, like, what was that like? How competitive was your family?
Yeah, super competitive. I have 3 siblings and we're really close in age, and I have 4 cousins that are my dad's sister's kids. There's a lot more than that, but that was kind of like we were the first cousins. So there were like 8 of us that were all the same age, and we were always at my grandparents' pool competing over different stuff. We did all have a start in swimming, but then kind of everybody like spread out to different sports. So like it was competitive with the kids, but also just like the parents encouraging it, and like all my uncles and aunts being competitive too. So it was definitely like very competitive environment. I remember like just having like absolute duels in the pool, like wrestling over torpedoes with my cousin, like straight up combat. So that's just kind of funny to remember.
We had a 12-yard pool, and Christmas lunch, we always had the family race. And I was the eldest, and I was the sprinter. And my cousin who played soccer would whoop my ass. Like, excuse my language again, guys. But what was that like in terms of like how did they view you as a swimmer? Okay, you got a pole vaulter.
Yeah, I think everybody definitely has the like, I don't know, if you're in one of the more like athletic sports, like that's just more popular, and like you maybe are more coordinated in many things. It is hard to be like swimming, like that's cool. And I did have a cousin. He played football for William and Mary. Oh. And one summer I came back and he was like, Leah, I can beat you from this end of the pool underwater.
Oh, what happened?
And I was like, granted, it's literally 10 yards, the pool. So like you are a male football player, and like your legs pushing off the wall should beat mine. But something about it just irked me that he did beat me. And he had his arms at his side. He didn't put them in a streamline. And I remember we finished, and my cousins were like, his siblings were like, I don't know what Kevin just like, he does this weird thing underwater where he's shimmying, like he's like an eel. And I was just like, okay, so now everybody like probably just lost respect for me. They're just like, oh, so you're good in your sport, but you're probably not that good.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. All right, so we're gonna bring Justin back in. We have a audience question.
Yeah, Leah. So we got 2 questions from Mark actually, and I'm gonna pin it here. Oh, that didn't work. He asked, "What challenges does distance training have that sprint or other disciplines don't?"
None.
Yeah, I think like definitely like the mental aspect of gearing up to really not be on the wall for very long. And like sprint does have elements of that too. Like I'm always surprised at how much overlap there is between sprint training and distance training. Like there's some teams that just do all the same. But then there's some teams that do not do the same. So I think like just staying mentally tough and staying engaged for a really long period of time is the biggest challenge. Like not letting your mind wander off too much to where like you're just mindless swimming. Because I personally don't believe in that. And I think that once you're checked out of a practice, like the additional yardage is not even going to help you. So yeah.
Quality over quantity. And then he has a second question. What lifts do you use to develop your explosiveness? Right up John and I's wheelhouse.
What methods to develop my explosiveness? Is that what?
Yeah. What lifts do you use to develop your explosiveness?
So my senior year of college, I started doing like a lot more, is it plyometrics? Like different, yeah. And I started doing like more jumps and different stuff with like, I would do like a jump where like bands were on my shoulders. So like weighing me down and like different stuff like that. And I felt like that really translated to my 200 and 400 for sure. Yeah. And so now I've kind of worked that in with my new lifts. And yeah, I think just like focusing on being an athlete that's not just a swimmer. And like everybody kind of talks about like, oh, swimmers are so uncoordinated. And it's like, we shouldn't be though. Like we work out so much. And so I feel like just like developing the whole athlete and like not being afraid to like really attack the explosive dryland stuff, like different like med ball slams or like explosive abs. And like when my coach tells me to like, he wants this fast and explosive, like I try to do that to the best I can instead of being like, well, I'm a distance swimmer, I can't do that. Like I probably have a moment where I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna like these sprints that we're doing probably against guys that swim the 50 free. But yeah, I'll do my best. Yeah.
Leah, how do you really feel about when Brian Lundquist would finish practice after an hour and a half and you still had an hour and a half to go? How do you really feel when you saw those guys jump out the water? Come on, we're all swimmers. I'm a sprinter. John's a sprinter. Justin, we're trying to figure out.
I was in the middle, man.
Honestly, like I felt fine. I was like, that's fine. Like that's the workout that you should have done. But what wasn't fine is when people like, when the coaches would be like, go cheer for the distance group. And then the sprinters would stand on the side and they'd be like, go, like, and they'd be like gossiping and talking. And you're like getting angry.
Get out of here.
Like, honestly, just go. Like, go to the locker room. Like, you had the treat of getting out before us. We don't need to see you lingering, like, messing around on the pool deck. So that was really what got me. Like, I didn't care at all that their practice was shorter. It should have been. But yeah, when you're gonna like mess around like while we're still going, that's just annoying.
Especially if that happens to you now in an outdoor pool where they just go lay out in their Speedo right next to you.
Yeah, honestly, if you're just like chilling and you're not doing very much, that's fine.
Yeah,
but if you're just, like extra,
yeah, I got you. Cool, right on. Okay, so we're gonna shift over to a game of rapid fire questions. We got a few to rip through here. You ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Okay. So we always start this game with the same question, but since you have a boxing history in your family, I'm going to ask it this way. Pound for pound, what's the hardest race in swimming?
The mile. 1,000%.
You meant to say 50 free. Okay. Would you rather win? Luke asked this question, but we didn't catch your direct answer on it. Would you rather win an individual Olympic gold medal or set an individual long course world record?
That's hard. I think gold medal.
Yeah.
Because the record's going to get broken probably. It'll last longer, like in terms of like, might last a few years, but it'll get broken and then you don't have a treat to show.
Yeah. I got a quick follow-up here because, Brian was a former world record holder. And notice I said former. And you're an Olympic gold medalist, but you're on the relay. So it's interesting. We have an interesting dynamic here. So if I ask Brian that question, and you're the first gold medalist that we've asked that question, world record, but everybody's said individual gold medal, bar none of everybody we've asked. So it's interesting. And Brian, you would say the same thing. You are a world record holder in the relay, but you won a gold medal, yeah? So
taking over the segment, Luke, but
it's
a rapid fire, but okay. I did want to be on the Olympic team, and I probably would do that. Okay, Leah, are distance swimmers tougher than sprinters?
No, I think that's like too loaded of a question. I think it's equal.
Okay, so your dad was a pole vaulter, and I lived with a pole vaulter in college, and they didn't train for shit. So,
well, actually, my dad was a decathlete. So
decathlete. Okay,
pole
all right.
vaulting was just one of the many things he did.
Okay, so that's a big thing. So, do you guys talk trash about who's the better athlete?
No. My dad was always like super supportive of us growing up, of just like all of our accomplishments. Like he never tried to be like, well, I did this. He was never like put his own accomplishments on us. Like he would tell us about them and like that inspired us. But I felt like he was really good at like cultivating our individual goals.
It's a good dad.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best place in Tucson to get after morning practice breakfast?
My kitchen, probably. I'm the best at cooking the breakfast.
Well, pause. What do you make?
I make really good pancakes. I make really good smoothie bowls. Yeah. I'm not like a huge like go out to breakfast person. Like I like it, but I'm like, I'm gonna order pancakes, so I'll just make that at home and I can eat it on my porch with a view instead of paying $20 for it.
Totally.
Great. Who's the greatest distance swimmer of all time?
Katie Ledecky. Is that
what's the best summer league meat snack?
Oh, sour punch straws.
Oh yeah, good one. Okay.
I don't know what that is. Go ahead.
Yeah. If you had a senior superlative that wasn't most athletic, what would it be?
I did get that, and people were mad that I got this athletic. They were like, "No, you're most talented, not most athletic." Like, you're talented. Okay, wow, that's like super backhanded.
It's a burn. Jeez.
Probably would be like I was like definitely like most disruptive in class.
Disruptive.
Yeah, I just I went to an all-girls Catholic high school, so like for me, I just like was not shy about kind of just like disrupting class. Like I wasn't an issue, but that was kind of
yeah. So we talked about your grandfather being a World Series baseball player. It's also reported that he was a bootlegger and made more money bootlegging. What kind of liquor was he bootlegging?
I don't actually know. I assume like moonshine or whatever. Isn't that what they did?
It was whiskey.
Oh, okay.
It was whiskey.
Thank you for educating me on my family history.
If you could, according to his Wikipedia page, if you could start an ISL franchise, what would you call it?
Oh. Well, it can't be the LA Current, I guess, because that already exists. I don't know. Like maybe like the manatees. That's my spirit water animal. It's definitely not like
cool.
fast or like expensive, but it's just like chill vibes for me.
Totally.
When you go under 400, will you slap the water?
Yeah, probably.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Nice job. Right on. Okay, well, hey, I think that's a good place to wrap it. Leah, thank you so much. It's been fun hanging out with you. Where can people follow you?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram, Leah Smith 19. I have a Strava account, but I have like one run in there, so I don't know if you can follow me on there.
Sorry, Luke.
I don't have Facebook, and my Twitter name is LG Smith 19. So
There you go. Right on. Well, thanks so much, Leah. That's it for this episode of the Social Kick podcast. And thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Cheers.
bye.